Welcome back to the Truck Stop Podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Smith.
And I'm Kevin Reed.
Welcome
Uh,
back. Oh, you want to introduce it or
no, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Go ahead.
hey,
Go
well,
ahead.
this is the second episode of Truck Stop Podcast. We got a lot of gems coming for you guys today. Glad you guys came back. Glad you guys keep tuning in. Remember to like, share, subscribe, send it to everybody who want to grow this channel because we have some valuable information that needs to get out there. So please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your mom she's into trucking, your father, your cousin, anybody. But yes,
I
please
tell you,
like, share.
tell your mama if she a trucker, if she in the
Yes,
truck, and
it's
tell your mama.
yes. Tell her, please.
Mama might like truckers. I don't know.
She
Yeah,
might.
yeah,
She
yeah.
might.
Mama boyfriend might be a trucker. I don't know.
You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So t today, Malcolm, I'm excited to be here. Just so much good stuff that's going on. You are, and I got, you're doing so many exciting things on so many levels. And I'm excited about all the things that are happening behind the scenes and all the things that are coming for you and your business. I'm just excited for you and all the great things you're doing. So we're going to be making a huge national announcement very soon about some things that you're doing. Today, we are going to talk about, um, we're starting in our trucking business series. And we're teaching how to start and maintain a successful trucking business. That's what this series is going to be called. How to start and maintain a successful trucking business. Each episode, we're going to be dropping 3 episodes a week. They'll be dropping on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So everybody tune in. And if you want to know how to build a trucking company step by step, we're going to teach you in each episode one step. We're going to cover a particular area of building your trucking business from start to finish. We're going to cover all the steps to building a successful trucking company, how to build, how to maintain, and grow your trucking business. We're going to teach that in this series called How to Start Maintain a Successful Trucking Business. This is part one. Today is part one. And what we're going to talk about today is what I deem, and I've come to understand to be the most important factor as to whether or not your trucking company is going to be successful or any business for that matter. And this is something that nobody talks about. No one talks about it. No one teaches us this. There's just no emphasis on it. When I first developed a course almost a decade ago, I wanted it to be different. And I wanted to talk about the things and teach the things that no one teaches. But there are things we wonder. Uh, People go and take these classes and these so-called master classes in trucking, and but there are factors that are involved in succeeding and being successful that no one talks about. There's the tangible and the intangible things that no one talks about in building businesses. And the most important factor is leadership and organizational culture. We're going to spend a little time talking about that, and we're going to teach a segment on that. What are your thoughts about that, Malcolm? You've heard me talk about, the importance of leadership and organizational culture and building a great culture, and how important that is. And I always say it is the most important factor as to what, and I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive
Mhm.
into that. But what are your initial thoughts on the whole concept of leadership and culture? What have you
Well,
experienced with your team?
man, I agree. It is one of the greatest. I mean, one of the most important things that you have to pay attention to because it sets the precedence of your company. It sets how employees, want to work for, how long they stay, the retention. If they enjoy coming and showing up for work, if it's
Mhm.
a culture where they feel, they can have fun because it's, in this day and age, when people are tired of something, they're gone, they're leaving, they don't care.
Right,
It's
right.
on to the next. So um, you know, I also too, leadership and coaches is showing employees that you actually care about them as well. It's not
Mhm.
just pushing out demands and expecting them to do stuff, and is in helping them achieve and grow to what they want to be as well. So,
Mhm.
I've had situations where, you know, somebody comes on to me as a driver, and they want to become a lead. They want to, actually learn the operation and learn the day to day, and they evolve into that, and that's the culture that we have in our company, GHM Transportation. We really, if it's somewhere you want to go, we help you get there,
Right,
and
right,
that's the type of leaders. Well, that's the type of leader I've tried to be for my company.
right.
I think I've done a pretty decent job. We
I
always can
think
get
so.
better,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things that when I started the organization over a decade ago, um, there was a driver shortage, and there's been the cry for driver shortage for a long time. Talking about the fact that the average age of truck drivers, and there's a generation of truckers that are going into retirement, and industry had been struggling trying to uh, attract and retain the next generation of truckers. So I've had a lot of conversations about it. I've been invited to a lot of conferences. I've had to speak on the topic. I've had the pleasure of speaking to some industry leaders and sharing my thoughts and ideas on it. I simply say that there's a high turnover in the trucking industry. Why is there such a high turnover in trucking? And what is the issue? And I was talking with an executive from, I won't name the company, one of the largest trucking companies in the country. And they were talking about the driver shortage. And my position was, and I think I stunned the lady when I said, we have a leadership issue in the trucking industry. We have a leadership issue. I said to people, stop blaming drivers for doing what drivers do. Stop blaming drivers. Everybody knows the mindset, the mentality, and who drivers are.
Mhm.
What are we doing to retain drivers? Drivers hop from one company to the next because obviously there's something missing.
Mhm.
I've been inside of trucking companies. I know it is one of the most cutthroat and ruthless, brutal industries I've ever seen. This is just reality of this industry. And there's a leadership issue in companies and in businesses. And we want to know why drivers are constantly leaving. If you're happy someplace, you don't leave from someplace that you're happy at. You don't voluntarily leave a place unless drivers are mistreated, treated like the stepchildren, not
What's some of
appreciated.
what's some of the stories you've heard from over the road truckers
I've, I've,
situations?
I've just seen it. I've seen it. Listen, when I first got into trucking, there was a guy that I went to high school with. This is somebody who actually turned me on to trucking. Even though I had people in my family who were truck drivers, I didn't really get into the trucking business of it.
Mhm.
I was transitioning out of the courier industry, and I went to help someone with their trucking company. And I went in to help this brother work in his operations to help him stabilize his operations and help him build and grow his business. One of the first things I was doing his payroll and doing some things and helping him do sales and just put together infrastructure, putting together software, helping him with his operations. And the first thing I saw was he was robbing his drivers. He was just robbing his drivers. Uh, payroll. I do payroll. Okay, here's what they're getting paid. He's just looking.
Mhm.
No, no. He's taking chunks of money from them. And then I began to realize screwing over drivers that's standard.
Mhm.
That's just standard across the industry. Screwing over drivers is just standard. That's one of the things that made me want to start an association was looking at and thinking about working on behalf of the drivers and working on behalf of their interests. But the problem is, it's just leadership. Leadership is void in the trucking industry. It's void at the highest level, at the biggest trucking companies, all the way down to the smallest trucking companies. Leadership. So I want to talk about leadership and culture because what no one teaches us in business, the most important factor in building a successful business is yourself as the leader. This is the most important factor in determining whether or not your company is going to be successful. Um, It's the biggest thing that's going to determine just, and I want to dive into the whole concept of leadership and culture, what it means. See, as a business owner, we are desiring to go out and build. For many people we want to build a corporation. We want to build a legacy, something that we can pass down from one generation to the next. We have this vision of building something big, but we're talking about leading people. We're talking about leading people. And I've been teaching for so long, and I've been asking myself, why, we talked about this in our first episode, why aren't people winning? What's stopping people from starting these businesses and building them and going to the next level? What's in the way? Why aren't we winning? What do I see from people in my classes? And what's preventing them from taking the class? They're excited, but they never get there. There's things that are getting in the way. A lot of times it's our own issues. It's literally our own issues. When you talk about building a trucking company, building a business, building a successful business, you're talking about being a leader. You're talking about leading people. How do you propose that you're going to lead people when you yourself are broken? We got broken people trying to lead other people. How's that work?
It doesn't.
How's that work?
It doesn't.
And we don't talk about this. We don't even understand this. When you're the leader, you understand what that means? What you're supposed to reflect and project? I tell people this, who you really are shows up when you're the boss, when you're in charge, when you're the leader. Who you really are as a person. All your issues, they show up when you're in charge. And whether or not people want to work for you. If you're a broken person with issues, because here's what I began to discover, Malcolm, when we had that masterclass. I began to look and realize from 1 month to the next, people weren't getting things done. We have a task. Each month, we identify an area in business, we work on it, we introduce it, we talk about it, and then over a period of the month, coming into the next month, we should have accomplished something and gotten something done. Whether it be working on our business plan, whether it be getting the corporate structure done, whether getting the marketing done, whatever it is, we're working on. But people were coming with excuses, people were coming with issues, and as I would listen and try to encourage, as I'm talking to people on one-on-one, I'm just seeing like nobody's getting nothing done. And it's like, why? And as I began to dive in, by my second master class, I put together a booklet where I dove in and I began to ask questions of individuals. I just had to peel the onion back and identify what's really going on. What are your priorities? Where's your head at? What's important to you? What are the things that are preventing you from accomplishing your goals? I asked a question in a master class, like, how many people in here, how long have you desired to be successful or to build a business? Nobody just decided today that I want to start a business, I want to be successful. You probably had the desire, dream to be successful a long time ago. Well, the question is, what's prevented you? What stopped you from accomplishing those goals over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What's prevented you?
What was the most common thing you saw?
That no one answered that. No one had a response. People were like deer in headlights. When you ask that question, people are just sitting there looking and they're just staring. Because they're like, wow, because they've never been asked that. What's prevented you from getting there thus far? Because whatever that is, if you haven't identified your hurdles, the obstacles, the issues, and if you haven't overcome them, they're still there. They still exist. And that's still what's preventing you from getting there. What are the things that are keeping you from accomplishing your goals? And it's typically deep-rooted. It's some deep-rooted stuff. It's some stuff from our childhood. I had a young lady in the class, and we said she had daddy issues. She had abandonment issues, but these are things that plague us that we carry throughout life, and whether we understand it or not, whether it's ever been addressed. These are the things that keep us from accomplishing goals and things and being our best, the best version of ourselves. And no one talks about that. We got black men out here that are broken. We got people out here that well, not just black men, just men, period. We come from broke. We got stuff. We got stuff that's going on. We got issues that we've never addressed, we've never dealt with, but yet we want to go build a company and we want to lead people. How does that work? So how are you going to build a successful company when you are a ripped up, broken individual and you haven't figured that out yet? So as someone who was so invested in trying to train and teach people, I continue to see hundreds to thousands of people taking these classes and spending money, but they never do nothing. And I kept asking myself, why? What's the problem? And then I realized they got issues. I keep hearing excuses. I keep seeing things. Some people will come and take a class, spend the money, invest, take a class, and they never do nothing. And then what people have a tendency to do, when they don't accomplish their goals, they want to blame other people for their failures. I had to peel the onion back and identify what's keeping the people that I serve, what's keeping them from accomplishing their goals. And then I had to figure out, I gotta dive deeper. I've got to figure out if I'm really committed to helping people be successful. I got to understand what it is that's preventing and find a solution. And the solution is it's deep. It runs deep. It goes back through childhood. It goes back through trauma. It goes back through, this is real stuff. And nobody's going to ever talk about this stuff. Nobody teaches us this. Nobody teaches us about our childhood trauma and how we're dealing with it, whether or not we're dealing with it. But we got issues. We got personality flaws and issues. We don't understand where it's coming from. We're not addressing the real problem. And yet we just think, oh, I'm just going to go out here. No, you're not going to. You're not going to. You're not going to be successful until you fix that. Until you identify what it is, go get some therapy, go get some help, go get a coach, go through and fix it. Then you can go be the best version of yourself. Because in order to go out here and lead people and people want to work for you, you got to be dynamic. You got to be the man. There's a difference. We talk about leadership because you set the tone. Every organization and every company is a reflection of its leadership. Now it goes back to the initial point I made. What's wrong with the trucking industry? We've got a lot of people out here that are broken, that are leading people, that are running companies, that are robbing people blind, mistreating, don't know how to treat, don't know how to communicate, don't know how to treat people, and they're running companies. Every business and every organization is a reflection of its leadership. There's a difference between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's.
Big difference. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is I don't care where you go in the country.
Customer service it's sublime. Like they're the pillar of customer service.
The pillar of, and guess what? That starts at the top. That starts at the top. The manager at that particular store they're just not all dynamic. No, that's training. That's the culture of Chick-fil-A. That's the culture. But you go to go through the drive-through at McDonald's somewhere, man.
That's 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes.
Shake machine, bro. Folks got attitudes. Folks slinging your food. They treating you in the car. You about to fight with them, man. Come on, man. I mean, this is. But
I remember when I was a teacher. I was a teacher at and we have like 30 minutes for lunch. But so that's leaving the school, go get Chick-fil-A, come back. There was a line, I'm talking about, wrapped around the building. I'm like, man, I would never be able to get my food and get back to school before lunch. And this was probably when they maybe just kind of started the implementation of the drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
And I got through the drive-through in like 5 minutes. I was like, wow. Like,
they have people out there. They have people out there.
Yes.
They
coming,
getting it done. They have
Yeah.
people out there. They have people out. Look, they got employees out there in the drive-through out there taking orders, man. They're getting it done. That's a commitment to service. That's leadership, though.
Yes. Yes.
That's true leadership. That's culture. That's the culture that we talk about we want to build. That's what it takes to build a great corporation, to build a great business, and people want to work for you. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about um, um, what the most important factor and whether or not your company succeeds. To build a great trucking company, you've got to have great drivers. I mean, I'm going to go into the concept of my former partner and I, how we built the trucking company, why people wanted to work for us, how we paid our drivers well, why they would drive through, they would do anything for us, and what allowed us to grow and succeed so fast. It was about my concept of how to treat drivers, what I wanted to see, how I wanted them to be paid, what I was willing to do for them. Putting our guys in uniforms. You know what I mean? Small company, we uniforms. Like nobody,
Mm.
who does that? This was just the whole concept of looking like professionals, being professionals, treating your people like professionals, giving them a stake, making them care, showing them that we care about them. This is an industry that's reeking poor leadership. It's just wreaking poor leadership. And that's the problem with trucking. And we want to talk about, um, we've talked about before about perception, image, perception, all these different things, how important all these things are. As we go through this series, we're going to learn about this. But this is the number one thing. Today, we're going to talk about leadership and organizational culture. And I want to, before I go into this educational segment, I want to take a second and talk about one of the biggest problems for CEOs, someone starting a business, an entrepreneur, is leadership and ego. Ego. I want to just really talk about ego. Staying in your lane. This is something that I'm 57, about to be 58. And the one thing I've mastered now, and I truly understand the importance of staying in my lane. Our egos make us get out of our lane. I'm gonna spend a second talk about staying in your lane and how important it is. My dad told me as a young entrepreneur, he said, son, as an entrepreneur, you must know your limitations. Surround yourself with people who have strengths in areas where you're weak. One of the top, I'm doing this piece in one of our episodes called The Top 10 Reasons Why Small Businesses Fail, the top 10 reasons why trucking companies fail. And one of those reasons is owners that can't get out of their own way. Again, the leader. As a leader, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, it is imperative to know your own strengths and weaknesses. Remember we talked about last week, the greatest piece of economic wisdom is to know what you don't know.
Yes.
Learning to stay in your lane. I've learned to stay in my lane. I've learned to understand what it is that I do well and what I don't do well. That's very crucial to being a great leader too. And surrounding yourself with a great team of people and empowering people to do their jobs and to be really good at what they do.
And it allows you to be the best at what you do. Now you're not dibbling and dabbling in other areas that you may be,
Right.
you think you're giving your all, but it's not, because it's not your expertise.
It's not your
So,
area of expertise.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what makes us do that is our egos. See, I'm a person, I've learned, and let me say this. I'm going to say this now, and let's going to talk about this in our interview. One of the first things I understood when I launched the association, this is back in 2011. I told and one of my advisors at the time became a board member from a major company, that I didn't want to be the CEO beyond the first year or two. And people were baffled by that. And I said it going on throughout the years. My point was, I did not feel as though I was qualified to lead and head the association. I had the vision. I was a visionary, but I understood that I didn't have the discipline or really the capability of running the organization on a day-to-day basis. That wasn't what I did well. It wasn't what, and I knew that. I had to do it because I had no one else, nor could I afford to have anyone
Yeah.
else to do it at the time. But I understood my lane. And I said, only my ego would make me think that I'm the best qualified person to do this job, not for where I wanted to see the organization go. Now, granted, you could be the chairman of the board, you can sit on the board, you can be the key advisor, you can sit by, but the day-to-day operations,
Yeah.
running the organization, that was not my forte. That was not my thing. And I understood that. Egos get in the way. Learning to stay in your lane. Um, I pride myself now on knowing what it is I do and staying in my lane. I know what I do. I know what I do well, and I stay there. And I learn to rely on other people who have expertise in other areas to do what they do well. That's one of the most important things, too, as a leader, that one must understand and know how to do that, know how to get in your lane and stay in your lane. Egos. Ego is, and I heard a coach say that one time about CEOs. He said the biggest problem with working with CEOs are their egos. Um, I'm going to get into that later at a later time. I'm going to dive a lot deeper into that. But that is, this is the whole aspect of leadership, and organizational culture, and building a successful company. You have any additional thoughts on that, Malcolm?
No, we can go get right into it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we're entering in the trucking business series, how to start and maintain a successful trucking business, um, part one, leadership and culture. As you've heard me say several times before, the greatest piece of economic wisdom is to know what you don't know. All right. The importance of leadership in business. Joel Baker said it best. A leader is a person you will follow to a place you wouldn't go by yourself. What steps can you start taking today to make your leadership style a success? I want to talk about 7 things that successful leaders do differently. 7 things first. 7 things that successful leaders do differently. One of the first, and these things are very important. Tune in, lock in, look at the screen, follow with us on this. Number one thing they do is they put relationships first. Successful leaders not only build networks, but they also nurture the connections they make. They make time for their clients and colleagues. They make time for people they mentor. They make time for their personal relationships. It takes a great deal of energy to keep connections thriving, but successful people are willing to put in time and effort. I'm reminded of a quote by Robert Martin that illustrates this point. Taking an interest in what others are thinking and doing is often a much more powerful form of encouragement and praise. Everything in business is centered around relationships. Everything is about relationships. The relationships you have with clients, but more importantly, the relationships you have with your employees. Being a professional, conducting yourself a certain way. And we're going to talk about image and perception, all these different things. We're going to dive into this, especially when we talk about marketing and all this other stuff. But understanding that relationships are everything. Everything that you're going to do is going to be predicated around how you cultivate and nurture relationships all around you. The thing about being a leader, a CEO, as I said, who you are shows up when you're the boss, who you really are. Everything is magnified when you're the boss. And you got to take time to think about, um, what type of leader you want to be. You have to put thought into that, envision that. I used to envision um, how I wanted my staff meetings to go, what I wanted my office to look like, how I envision my employees treating me, the respect that they would give me, and how I did things. I would lay back at night in the bed and dream about this stuff. So I always say, when I walked into the office every day, I would ask myself, do I see my vision? And if I didn't see what it was I was envisioning, I had work to do. But I envisioned everything. I envisioned those relationships. I envisioned that in my mind. But understanding, nurturing those relationships and how you're going to cultivate them is important. Give that thought, put thought into that. All right. Because
Relationship,
relationships at every level. Go ahead, Malcolm.
yeah. So relationships, I had to learn the hard way that relationships mean everything because my first 2 years of business, I was, my business was, I was doing everything right, but I was seeing people get opportunities that wasn't, I'm gonna be honest, their company didn't look half as good as mine did. But I was like, damn, how did he get that job? How did he get there? And I started learning they had relationships with those companies. They had relationship with maybe the president, maybe somebody that was in a high level position in that company. And that's how they were able to nurture relationships. I also saw a video. I think it was John D. Rockefeller. They said that when they found like all his stuff that once he died, they found a bunch of note cards, and those note cards had people's name on them, and it had small things that like his birthday, or if maybe he had a meeting with them, and maybe they talked about the guy may talk about his daughter's, I don't know, event that was coming up. He would write small things like that down. So the next time he saw that person, he would say, "Hey man, how did that event go with your daughter? How hey, you had a birthday that passed. Hey man, here's a birthday gift." He would remember those things. That's how he cultivated relationships with so many people.
So many.
Just from remembering those small little things about people's life. Like you say, you take an interest in their lives. It really sets you apart because it makes people think,
Yeah.
oh, he really cares outside of business.
That's good. That's a good nugget. Good nugget. And with that, I want to drop another nugget. That's a good nugget. Something that I heard I learned from my coach, the wonderful Giovanni Gonzalez. I want to give a shout out to Gio. I'm going to spend a little time talking about him in my interview and the impact this man had on my life, and the things I learned from him. The best executive coach and leadership cultivator that I've ever seen and work with. But um, nurturing relationships is so important. Here's a nugget to building and keeping relationships. There's certain people that you're going to encounter through in the world of business that you see them and you identify. I want to keep and cultivate this relationship. One of the things you want to do with certain people is, every month or every couple months or every quarter, certain people get together, have lunch. Just, every month or so, every couple months. Hey, Mal, what's going on, man? Just, this is a relationship that I want to cultivate and keep. Malcolm would be a viable relationship to cultivate and keep this relationship. Cultivate it. Every couple months, let's just get together and have lunch. Just catch up. Hey, man, I'd love to catch up with you, man. How's everything going? Let's get together and do lunch. Okay. We get together and do lunch. Ain't got to be long or hour lunch. Catch up, man. How's everything? How's the family? Da 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 da. And then when we leaving, look at Malcolm and say, hey, man, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. If you need me for anything, can I help you in any way? No, that's it. That's how you cultivate and keep relationships. Just looking at Malcolm and saying, hey, man, is there anything I can do for you? When I do my Bible study every week, I say to everybody in my Bible, if you need me, call me. I'm here. And I ask, anything I can do for you? Can I help you with anything? Is there anything I can do for you? That's how you cultivate and keep relationships. Keep an interest in people that are vital. Cultivate that relationship. That's just the gym. People that are vital, once a month or every couple of months, get together, do lunch, cultivate that relationship and keep it. Relationships are everything. We're going to dive into that in our sales and marketing part, especially in my upcoming webinar on relationship selling and how to bid on contracts. But putting relationships first and relationships with your employees. And I also want to say that as a leader, a boss, you're a lot of different things to a lot of people. You have to be a
Counselor.
counselor. You got to
Yes.
be a counselor. You got to be a lot of things to a lot of people, and you have to be able to. I should talk about great leaders know how to get more than just a day's work out of people. Great leaders understand that everybody's not built the same. One mistake that people make in leadership, and I learned this from Giovanni, people tend to lead other people the way they lead themselves. Let me say that again. People have a tendency to lead other people the way they lead themselves. Everybody's not like you. Everybody doesn't function the way you function. And you think because this is how I do it, this is what makes me function, that's what's going to make other people function. Negative. That's not true. A great leader understands I need to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the people around me, and I have to put them in a position to succeed. We talked about that. You
Mhm.
have to know your team, know their strengths and weaknesses, and put people in a position to succeed. Don't put people in places and in situations where they're going to fail. Don't assign people to things that they don't have the talent, skill, or knowledge to do that job. You have to know, you have to take time to know that. Nurturing relationships, cultivating, getting to know people is vital. All right. The second thing that great leaders do, they know that meaning matters. Many entrepreneurs, particularly millennials, are building their businesses around giving back and doing something that will affect the world in some way. Successful leaders know that their life's work fits into a broader, more significant context. And what I mean by that is when they know that meaning matters, one of the things that I suggest that people do as they're building their business, attach your business to something greater. Find a way to align your organization's values and principles to some way of being able to impact the community. Great leaders understand that. They know that meaning matters. They know that as I'm building my organization is taking a focus on giving back to the community. We're aligned ourselves with nonprofits and things that will impact culture and society. This is something that you should focus on and think about aligning those values with your business. That's what we mean by we know that meaning matters, giving back and doing something that will affect the world in a positive way. Align yourself with something positive. Number three, they use humor. Successful leaders deal with tough stuff, but they fight back with humor. Early studies of humor in health showed that humor strengthened the immune system, reduced pain, and reduced stress levels. Since humor builds positive emotion, it can also help reduce feelings of anger, depression, and anxiety. Additional research in this area shows that positive emotions predicted increases in both resilience and life satisfaction. What's interesting is that the more stressful the situation, the more successful leaders tap into the funny side of life. Uh, One of the things that I also thought about is having an environment at work where we could be professionals, but we could have fun. Um, I have a sense of humor, whether or not people understand it or not. In my previous life, I used to do stand-up comedy. People think I'm just all serious all the time. That is a false thought process there. I am quite silly. I do have a hell of a sense of humor. It is displayed often behind the scenes that people don't see, but I love to have fun. I love to laugh. I'm really, really silly, and I really, really like to have fun. And I like having a work environment where we can have fun, where people want to come to work and we want to have fun. We want to be humorous. We want to create a culture and environment that's fun, that it doesn't feel like work. And we can laugh about things, but at the same token, take care of business.
So what does that fine line look like? Because too much of that can kind of create a culture of playfulness in a sense. Is it a strategic way that you bring that into the culture of your business?
Well, that's a good point, Malcolm. That's a really good point. Here's one of the things that I learned from my old mentor when I was like 17, 18 years old, when I used to work in a shoe store. The guy who was my manager was a big influence on me. And he did something in our interview that I mimicked like almost my entire adult life in management and business. He had the conversation with me very early in our interview. And what he looked at me and simply said, he established his authority early. It's important to do. You don't have to be a butthole. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be rude. But one thing you can't do in business and in leadership, you can't start out playing with people, playing. Everything is playing and joking. And then later on, you try to come back and then get serious with people. That doesn't work because people won't take you serious. So establish yourself and your leadership presence. Don't have to be rude about doing it, but firm and be about business. Let people see that first. One of the things I understood is when you meet me, you're going to understand that our number one thing is about business. So you're going to see that first. You're going to get that first. What my boss said to me, he said, let me say something to you. He said, I want you to ever forget this. He said, I'm in charge. I am in charge. And if I ever ask you to do something, I need you to do it. And he said, I'll never ask you to do something that I myself am not willing to do. But I was like, oh, we're serious. Because he just looked at me with a straight look on his face and just says, I'm the boss. Don't ever forget that I am the boss. Don't ever forget that. And pretty much he was saying, don't make me ever have to remind you of that either.
Good.
I am the boss. And there are times in my company, I've had to look at folks and just remind them, hey, yo, this is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. I meant that, but I don't want to have to say that. I don't want to walk around and have people fear me like that. Respect. I'd rather have your respect than you fear, oh, the boss came in, da, da, da. No. I don't want that type of culture. I want a culture where you handling your business anyway. You know what I mean? Because I walk in the door, you run the hell. No. There's a great culture, but we have fun. But and then to your point, we can have fun, but when it's time to take care of business, you already know to do that. See, having a culture that people take care of business is standard. That's standard. That's just the way we do things. We take care of our business. These are things that you talk about in staff meetings. These are things that you sit and you lay down rules and laws early on about how we do things. You establish the culture early. When they come in the door, you establish. That's the time you really establish that stuff in meetings, in interviews, in orientations. You lay those things down. You lay down the rules first. Now we can go have fun because you understand what's expected. You understand the penalties and consequences when you don't handle business. So you do those things early in someone coming on board and coming into your team and coming to be a part of your culture. And we're going to talk about organizational culture a little bit later on, but those are the things. And then after that, hey, we can have fun. We can laugh and have fun. Everybody knows how far you can go and how far you can't go. You establish that early. You can't have people come in and they come into a place, because again, we talk about when we go in and talk about hiring drivers, we're going to get into that a little bit later. And you talked about this in our first episode of what people see, people's perception when they first meet you. When they first come into an interview, that initial first impression is everything. If there's a culture that doesn't appear to be professional, it doesn't appear to be about business, that's the mindset people are going to immediately adopt. And it's hard to change that once someone's brain is immediately programmed to think this is what this is about. Now you got to come back a month later and then try to change that. When they came in the door, you're a prankster, you're a joker, you playing around all the time. You know what I mean? They're going to think that's just what you do. They're not going to take you serious. Can't do that. But using humor, having humor, doing things and working and, in meetings that are fun and have fun, but know how to get back to business. All right. Number four, great leaders lead and live with their strengths. Research by the Gallup organization shows that the most effective leaders invest in their strengths. We talked about this, staying in your lane. Surround themselves with the right people to maximize their team and understand their followers' needs. Successful leaders understand that they cannot be everything to everybody and remain effective. Instead, they have a keen awareness of how to leverage their unique blend of strengths, skills, and talents. That's all I was saying earlier. Stay in your lane. All that's saying right there. You stay in your lane. You
Mm.
lead and live with your strengths. You know what you do well and you know what you don't do well. One of the biggest things that entrepreneurs do is they go try to take on things that they're not skilled at, they're not good at. Why are you selling if you can't talk? Why are you trying to cold call if you know you are not articulate and you stumble with that and you just don't do it? That's not your thing, then don't do it. Get somebody else to do that. Why are you trying to keep the books when you know you can't count? You know what I'm saying? Your finances is not your thing. Listen, I'm a person, I don't value money. One of my biggest problems as a CEO was managing finances and budgets. Man, I was horrible. But I know it. Somebody got to keep a tight rein on the money because I'm not disciplined financially. I'm not. I know this. That's staying in your lane. That's a stay in your lane type of thing. You understand what it is you do well and what you don't do well. Great leaders understand that. They lead and live with their strengths. Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Number five, great leaders, they manage pessimistic thinking. Successful leaders rein in their pessimistic thinking in three ways. First, they focus their time and energy on where they have control. They know when to move on if certain strategies aren't working or if they don't have control in a specific area. Second, they know that this too shall pass. Successful leaders embrace the suck and understand that while the ride might be bumpy at times, it won't last forever. Finally, great leaders are good at compartmentalizing. They don't let adversity in one area of their life seep into other areas of their life.
I'll say this. Last year tested me. 2023 tested me. Like it was a lot going on in my personal life. But behind closed doors, one thing I could not do was when I came around, my team, my employees, I could not show that. I had really had to compartmentalize
Yeah.
what was going on in my life. So I had to handle that when I was in that. But when I was, when I was at work, when I was, in the grind, I handled that as such, and I think it really taught me how to compartmentalize. You have to, when you're having so many things going on in your life, man, you cannot bring that and let it pour over because then sometimes you may be angry at some things and what's going on in your personal life and you take it out on the people that you work with,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
not fair.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really, I compartmentalize is really really important. And the pessimistic thinking, I always, when something happens, I get a call and it's like I give myself a couple of seconds to say damn, but then after that it's what's the solution. It's
Right.
always a
Right.
solution,
Right.
and that's the
Right.
quickest you can get to that
Yeah.
solution, or even
Yeah.
thinking about, all right, what is this? Okay, all right,
Get
what's the
past what
issue?
happened. Get past what
Yes,
happened and how do I solve it now?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and but that can be hard too, because while you're trying to think of solutions as a CEO, as a leader, you got other people coming to you, you get phone calls, people talking
Yeah.
to you. So
Yeah.
when do you really set that time aside to really say, let me just think, let me just
Okay.
think.
All right. So we're gonna unpack that. That's what people think. I want to good point. All that's
Mhm.
good, Malcolm. All that's good point. The- Here's one of the things that, and again, these are moments of being transparent. As I said in our first episode, I'm teaching now from my mistakes. My company, my organization cost me my family. It cost me my marriage. Um, it cost me a lot. And I often tell people there's a price for success. There's a price for, going after your goals and things of that nature. We're going to dive into that stuff later. But I said all that to say things happen. I'm one of the things that I have been heavily criticized on over the years as an entrepreneur is having extreme tunnel vision. Extreme tunnel vision. I always had a mindset that when I got up to come to work, my drive to the office in the morning, I was focused on my day. I took that time to put all my personal stuff behind me. I had a rule: don't bring your personal stuff to work with you. Leave it at home. I even got to the point I would tell my mother, I would tell my wife, don't call me with no drama through the course of the day. Not if it's an emergency, that's different. But if it can wait till I get off to, till I get home, save it till then. Don't call me with drama and negativity throughout the course of the day because I understand my thought process and the things that I had to deal with. I'm responsible for a lot of people. I'm responsible for finding answers for a lot of people on a lot of levels. So my thought process, my mindset was key to everything that I did. Blocking out negativity, oh my God. Like, as an entrepreneur anyway, I say you have to keep negative people and negative things away from you. It's a must. It's a must. I'm going to unpack this thing that I learned from my coach. Um, I'm gonna unpack it later. I won't do it today because but I want to unpack this thing where he used to go through this period of peeling back the onion to identify. Uh, uh, um, it's about conversations, and it's really about conversations. It's about the conversations and the people around you. It's about conversations, and I may have to do that today. I may have to do that today at the end of this. But I had to write that down. Managing the pessimistic thinking and the things that you talked about, Malcolm, preparing a time to think. As a CEO, as a leader, the head of a company, there's a book that I'm going to recommend by John Maxwell. And I talk about this in my class called How Successful People Think. By John Maxwell. It's called How Successful People Think. I recommend this. I highly recommend the book. It's not a big book. It's a little short book, but it's powerful. And it talks about how successful people think, the thought process that CEOs and leaders and executives, the thought process they have. And what it taught me was that you have to train yourself to think. Train yourself to think. Train yourself to think positively. Train yourself to set aside time to think. Because as you just talked about, people are always coming at you when you're the boss. You've got to deal with so many different things throughout the course of the day. You got this employee. You got to think about a meeting upcoming. You got to deal with this. You got to deal with this issue. You got to deal with that issue. How you going to deal with that? How you going to deal? Okay, I gotta reprimand an employee. How am I going to do that? May have to reprimand an executive. There's chess involved in this thing when you talk about being a CEO
Right.
and being a leader. You got to play chess. So you have to set aside time to think because you're so busy. But if you don't take time out to just think and contemplate on things, you're going to lose. So carving out time in your life and in your day as a leader is imperative. And you must manage. I'm an optimistic person by nature. I hate negativity. I hate negative thinking. I don't like to be around negative people that are always, oh, okay. And in the process of trying to build a company, you have to manage that. You have to be careful because it's a spirit. I'm speaking from a spiritual, it's a spirit. It's a spirit among people, man, that people are coming around everything about you. They're whining, they're complaining, and you know, as you're trying to go out and build and start a business, you need to have people around you that are going to encourage you. You don't need to have people around there that at every turn they're telling you why you can't do it. You know what I mean? That you can surround yourself with positive thinking people. If you are aspiring to be an entrepreneur, You need to surround yourself with people that are aspiring to be entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurs. You got to let some things go. You sometimes you just can't be hanging with, oh,
Even family,
look,
family,
man, look,
family
man,
sometimes,
look, man, look.
like it, just imagine going from having a great career and telling your family or whoever you have that you may seek advice from a
Mm,
lot, tell you, hey, what are you doing? Like, why are you giving up a great job to go and explore entrepreneurship?
right,
And a
right.
lot of times, and these are people that you love, people that
Yeah,
you look up to, people that you really hold their word to heart. And you know, you have to, if for anybody who's going through that or been through that, like you really have to like just decide like what do you want? What do
right,
you want?
right,
And you can't let them impede, put their negative thinking on you. A lot of times people kind of tear down what they can't do or what
yeah,
they never done,
right,
and especially when you're stepping out from what they've done. Going to get a job and a career, that's fine. No, no disrespect to anybody, but that's what they wanted to do. But if you want to do something different, you have to step out of that mindset of, man, maybe maybe they are right. Maybe this not for me. Maybe I am gonna fail. Nah, you cannot think that
right,
way. You
right,
can't.
right.
And family can put their opinions, and sometimes it may impinge into your brain, but you can't let it get there because once you go there and you start believing what they're
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
your business is already done. It's
yeah,
already failed.
yeah. It's hard enough going out here and navigating as an entrepreneur, starting a business, taking the risk and the gamble. Everything about the journey is, I mean, you got to be realistic and, like I said, take
Yeah, you
calculated
do.
risks,
Yes,
but
calculated risk. Yeah.
calculated risk. But at the same token, man, I need positive energy. I need positive
Yes.
energy around me. I need reinforcement. I need encouragement. You've got you listen, the conversations that you surround yourself with are vital. That's everything. That's
One
everything.
one thing I do, when someone brings a business idea to me or they bring a something the idea they have, I never tell them, oh man, that ain't gonna work. Oh, you can't do it. Because at the end of the day, I don't know your grind. You may take that idea that may seem so far-fetched, and I may in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work. You may make it work. So I never tell anyone that's not going to work. I've seen so many things people have looked at, and you from the I what Uber, they didn't
Mhm.
think Uber was gonna survive. It's a bunch of people pulled out of the investment, didn't want to invest in Uber, and now they're kicking themselves because Uber. And we can name a bunch of companies and business like that, but it all starts with an idea. And when you first present the idea, everybody's not going to see the vision, and
Mhm.
you have to see the vision first before anybody, and then you have to keep the pessimistic thinking away from your vision because once it gets into that, your vision is done. You're
Absolutely.
not gonna think that it's gonna be true. So I
Listen, I've always done the impossible.
mhm,
Everything I've ever done was like I've done stuff. People say he can't do that. My first trucking company. Listen, my courier company. When I started my courier company with $1,000. I used to own a shoe store up in North Carolina, and
mhm,
I came back from North Carolina with I still had some shoes, just stored up.
mhm,
When I decided to start my own courier company, I had the shoes in storage. There's a brother from Africa. He wanted to buy them, and he bought them all up from me for $1,000. I took the $1,000 and I spent the majority of that in my marketing materials. I was literally, and I had a computer that I got on credit, a Gateway computer.
mhm,
I never forget the Gateway computer. And I spent the majority of it on my marketing materials. I ran into a guy that I went to high school with. He had a printing company downtown. And I went and I had him, do all my printing materials, all my marketing stuff. And I was sitting up in my sunroom in my apartment. I didn't even have a desk. I had my computer sitting on the boxes that they came in. I had a fold out chair. I went and got the Bell South Ringmaster phone thing, and where
mhm,
ring, that was my business phone,
mhm,
and with the double ring was my fax. I knew, look, I was grinding from I
mhm,
and I started my company. And by the time I finished my marketing stuff, I may have had a couple $100 left. I started with really like no money.
mhm.
And of course, people, everybody sit, laugh at you, look at you, saying you ain't gonna do it. My first trucking company, they told me I couldn't start a trucking company with $5,000. I started a trucking company with $5,000, and people was like, "You will not be able to do that." I did that. So um, the important thing is getting past all the negativity, having the grind and determination. And it is important that you have people around you that are going to support you. If not, you need to, get away from them. Peel yourself away from that. That is imperative. That is imperative. So that's good stuff. That's good sharing stuff, and that's vital. All that's vital. Um, all right. Okay. The sixth reason that what successful leaders do, they make their own luck. Number six, they make their own luck. The concept of grit, perseverance, and passion for long-term goals is not new. But recent research has shed interesting light on the concept. Researchers studied an incoming class of cadets at West Point in order to better understand why certain cadets dropped out and others continued on a long path of military mastery. What they found is that the group who stayed was not more athletic, well-rounded, or smarter. They were grittier. We were just talking about that, Mel. In fact, grit was a better predictor of success for these cadets than IQ or standardized test scores. Successful leaders pursue goals with passion. They don't back down from challenges. They don't allow a failure to define who they are as a person. And simply put, they don't quit. Again, that's the determining thing. We were talking about this, that grind,
Yes. I look at it, I look at it as consistency, meaning
yes,
every day. All right, we start off the same, we doing the same thing, and we have, let's say, 100 days to get to it. Every day, you may be performing better than me, after day 25, but I'm still showing up every day, every
hmm
day, every day, even getting knocked down. Over time, those losses, you start to learn from. You start to
yes,
those failures that,
yeah,
well, I don't even like calling them failures. I just say losses.
yeah.
You learn from them, and I'm gonna be back
Setbacks,
tomorrow. I'm gonna be back
setbacks.
tomorrow. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be back
yeah,
tomorrow every
yeah,
day. I'm gonna be back tomorrow. I know a lot of people use this. Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant he wasn't the most talented. He wasn't the most, he was 6'6", but he wasn't jumping out the gym. He didn't have Michael Jordan's DNA. He didn't have LeBron's DNA. Kobe Bryant worked
he
every
worked.
single day.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
by the
yeah,
time you look up, it's too late to even try to catch him because he's been so consistent for so
yeah,
many years
yeah.
every single day. I think that's what they mean, that grit, that every day. I
hmm
don't care. Yeah, I failed yesterday, but today I'm showing up. Today I might win.
But
Or
the,
it's
but
always
you
that thought of today I might win. Today
mhm.
I might win. So
but
that's why
but you
I'm
know
here.
what? That goes back to what we talked about earlier. I started seeing that, and I really didn't start paying attention to it, Malcolm, until we did that master class, that 6-month master class.
Mhm.
I started looking at brothers and sisters in that master class, and I was just like, they don't have it. They don't have it. They don't have the determination. They don't have the discipline. They don't have the commitment. Now, when people come to me about helping them, the first, it's just, this thing is, I want to know if you really have what it takes to do this. Like, because if you get hit in the mouth and you're going to fold up, then you're not going to, you know what I'm saying? This is not going, entrepreneurship is it's just not that simple. It's hard. It's hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. You have to want this. You have to be determined. You got to be determined. It's grit because you are going to get knocked down. You are going to run into difficulties. And in the first time you have to, yeah, you're going to fold up and go back
That's
to the job. If I always tell people, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yes, it's a study that's coming out. It's well, probably it's been out, but they say the brain is trained to keep us safe.
Yes.
Every time we think
Yes.
about doing
Yeah.
something that may challenge us and put us in an uncomfortable situation, the brain is going to try to talk you out of it. So, I give you an example. Think about going to the gym. Say you haven't been to the gym in years, and you want to say, "I'm starting today."
hmm
The brain is going to try to trick you out of it because, hey, you remember last time we tried this, and You know, your body was it was
Well,
killing
we
you.
want to travel the
Sort
path
of.
of least resistance. We don't like
Yes.
pain. We
There
try to
you go.
avoid pain. There
Mhm.
is no success without pain.
There
There's
isn't.
just none. In no level of life, there is no success without pain.
So that grit that we're talking about right there,
Mhm.
that's the grit to say, I don't care what type of pain comes with it. I'm gonna make it
I'm,
happen,
I,
whether
I, I gotta have it.
I gotta
I
have it.
gotta have it. I gotta have it. I will. And that's when I get locked in on something, man, and I believe in it and I see it. Like I said, I've been guilty. Like, oh, this boy got tunnel vision to a whole nother. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Like whatever it costs me, I gotta have it. Look. I wait till man. When y'all people hear my journey in that interview, when they hear my journey, they're gonna be like, "Dang, buddy did that." Yeah, 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 yeah. There's some things that I've done as an entrepreneur that because you just gotta have it. Will not be
Got to.
denied. Just will not be denied. And that's the thing that a lot of people. That's what they don't have. My thing is this: life is going to get in the way. It's going to get in the way. It's going to get in the way. You can bank on that. You got to have that grit, as that's what they talk. That's the determining factor, and that's what I said before. Mark Cuban said the biggest thing that he's seen that determines whether or not entrepreneurs really. He said is determination. They don't have the determination. You know, something happens and they wither up and they go away. The first sign of adversity, they're done.
Mm.
That's just that can't work. All right, number 7. Great leaders they manage their energy. Jim Lower, the co author of the Harvard Business Review article entitled The Making of a Corporate Athlete, describes an ideal performance state as prolonged and sustained high performance over time. What he says is successful leaders become adept at moving between energy expenditures, also known as stress, and energy renewal, known as recovery. In order to get the energy renewal required to live and work in an ideal performance state, successful leaders know when to refill their tank. Burnout is a potential reality for people in high stress professions, and successful leaders keep burnout at bay by knowing how and when to take a break. This is important. Sometimes I tell you, sometimes, hey man, turn it off, turn the
Yeah.
brain off, turn it off
Yeah.
sometimes and just go sit down
Yeah.
and
It's
just
it's hard
turn it off.
though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
When you
hard.
wired and you got that thing in you, but sometimes turn your brain off and let it rest for a second and then turn it back on. Because there is such a thing as burnout. There is such a thing as the fatigue. And one of the things that drove me. I'm a person. I struggle with anxiety for years already. I developed this. It was anxiety, and a lot of people didn't know that I functioned and lived with extreme anxiety. I'll talk about that in our interview too, but that was a real thing for me. And I finally got to the point, I think in 2018, 2019, where I knew I was almost at a breaking point. And I was just like, I can't do this no more. You know, I'd been saying it for years. I used to go into my staff meetings every week and tell my team, like, yo, I can't keep functioning like this because I function under a lot of stress and I didn't know how to take a break. I people used to always say to me, you got to find balance. And I didn't know what that was. I had no idea what my thing was balance is for normal folks. I'm out here on the grind. I gotta have it. You know what I mean? But I did not know what balance was. Um, I had no clue. I had no clue how to find balance. I had no because my everything was wrapped up in work. Everything that I did was wrapped up in work. I never took any vacations. I never really understood how to take time off. It was just work, 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 work. And sometimes I worked 7 days a week. And I did that at points for months and months and months and months or years at a time with no break, and it will end up catching up with you. So yeah, learning how to manage your energy is important if you're going to last in a high stress role. All right. Got any thoughts on that?
Nah, that's you couldn't have said it, better. But it is like I'm big on recovery, so
Yeah.
I'll go get massages. I'll
It's an
another
antidote.
thing for me it's the gym. The gym is where I recover as well. It actually is one of those it's places where people you know, I won't answer any phone calls at the gym. I won't, it's my time. It's well, where I actually come up with the best solutions and ideas at the gym. That's kind of where my
That's good.
thinking process, but it's also for recovery as well too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. 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 So now I want to go into organizational culture. Organizational culture. So what is company culture? Company culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that shape the work environment and define the organization's identity. I'm going to say that again. Company culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that shape the company environment and define the organization's identity. Company culture significantly affects the health of an organization. Here's why creating a positive company culture is crucial. We're going to dive into this. Productivity and performance. A positive culture motivates employees to work harder and be more productive. When employees feel valued and connected to the organization's mission, they are more likely to put in extra effort to achieve their goals. Let me tell you, when we first talked about leadership, being a great leader, when you're a great leader and you create a great culture and people love and enjoy it, like I can honestly say my team, my staff, including we got to a point that our work environment was not like coming to work. It was not like coming to work. Like we enjoyed having work. And when you create that type of an atmosphere, their work is fun, it's enjoyable, people will be more productive. They're going to get more done. When they're vested in the success, when people have fun and really love what they do, they're going to perform better. And it's going to show up in your customers. Your customers are going to see that. That will resonate with your customers. Productivity and performance. That's all. And that all starts with you as the leader. All right. Next, attracting top talent. A strong company culture can act as a magnet for top talent in the industry. Potential candidates are more likely to be drawn to an organization that has a reputation for being a great place to work. Come on now. This is what
So
this
like it's like Google. Everybody, most of the people in tech, they always talk about the Google campus in California is lovely, and they love going there. They love being a part of it. It doesn't feel like work.
it doesn't
It's
feel like work. Like you can go
yeah.
there, you can have fun. It's being creative like that and creating a great culture.
Mhm.
Think about a trucking company, man, that people have fun. People are rewarded for the work they do. I had this thing where I made drivers feel a part of the company.
Mhm.
I required that my drivers wore uniforms because I wanted us to represent and be professionals. And that was a big deal because people with brothers, cats would look and see our trucks were clean, guys had on uniforms, we were neat, and everybody would look at us. And then one of the things I did, I empowered my drivers um, because one of the things I understood is that drivers were the first line of representation for the company. Shippers and receivers see the drivers constantly, all the time. They're building relationships, places that they go to pick up and deliver. So you know what I did? I created a referral program, an incentive program that if my drivers brought in a lead, because imagine you delivering to a place and you've met and gotten to know and built a relationship with the logistics manager there. And I've had people say, "Hey man, I really like the way y'all do things. Hey, I'd be interested in doing business or giving y'all some work." So what happens now if my driver can now bring that lead back and turn that into sales and sales is able to go close on that, the driver gets paid for that.
Mhm.
So I created a program where my drivers got rewarded for doing that. I made them feel as though they were part of the company, and they were. They were the foundation. They were foundational piece, and create an environment where everybody, it's a family. It's a family culture. It's a fun culture and environment, and we all treat each other with high levels of respect. That's how you attract people. And you know what drivers are going to do? Drivers are going to go tell other drivers, love working here. Da 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 da. Great place. Great leadership, they treat us good, man, da da da. Good drivers will be the recruiters for you for bringing in other drivers. But if you run a crappy company, that's not happening. That's not happening. So that's how you attract top talent, and from creating such a great culture. All right. All right. Brand reputation. A positive company culture can enhance the organization's brand reputation. Customers, partners, and stakeholders often refer to associate with companies known for treating their companies well. I'm going to say that again. Companies, partners, and stakeholders often prefer to associate with companies known for treating their employees well. There we go again. There we go again. It carries, it shows, it resonates in every area. All right. Employee health and well being. A positive culture promotes a healthier work life balance and reduces stress and burnout among employees. This leads to improved mental and physical health, which in turn contributes to higher job satisfaction and productivity. All right. Adaptability to change. In a positive company culture, employees are more adaptable to change and are more likely to embrace new initiatives and strategies, helping the organization stay competitive and responsive to market demands. All right. So now, what steps can you take to build a great organizational culture? Now, this is something that a lot of people have never heard of, and it's called Hire for Culture Ad. Hire for Culture Ad. Hiring for culture fit may sound like a good idea, but often it can leave room for bias, leading to a homogenous culture where employees tend to all think and act alike. Rather than hire for culture fit, try hiring for culture ad. And what we mean by culture fit, you want people that fit in. We want people that do things this way, that will adapt to the way we do things here. Now, let me tell you what's important. And we're going to talk about what it means for hiring for culture ad. So let's go ahead and dive into that first. Hiring for culture ad means considering candidates who will bring new, fresh, and different ideas to your team, adding something that wasn't there before. By hiring for culture ad, you're able to build an organization of individuals who bring different strengths and experiences and perspectives to the table, leading to more innovation and a stronger, better performing company. So when we talk about hiring for culture fit, we want people that fit. We want people to fit. And I used to think like that. We want people to fit our mold, that fit into this culture, that fit in here. But what ends up happening is everybody thinks the same, everybody functions the same. Let me tell you what's important. Hiring people that have the same values. You start there. Hire people that have the same cultural values. The company has to have values, like a Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has values. That's a company the whole organization is built on principles and values. So when you hire, make sure now, but we want to hire people that we want to hire for culture ad. People everybody doesn't think the same like a bunch of robots, because then you can never be innovative. Hiring for culture ad means considering candidates who will bring new, fresh, different ideas to your team, adding something that wasn't there before. That's the concept of hiring for culture ad. Don't forget, make sure they share the same values. All right. Prioritize honesty and transparency. Employees who feel included in the loop on important news and decisions are motivated to be more engaged and do their best work. In fact, according to a new workplace well-being report from Harvard Business Review Analytic Services, candor and transparency from senior leaders helps build trust among employees. Being open and vulnerable also helps contribute to a culture of trust. Trust is one of the most important contributors to a strong workplace culture that employees don't want to leave. Let me say something. Now, and I know a lot of truckers, a lot of people out here trying to get into the trucking industry, they look at this and they're not understanding, they may not even understand the importance of this. But if you want to change, if you really want to build, if you have a vision and a mindset that says, I like to start building a small fleet, or even if you just, because I've had some people that have said to me over the years, I don't want to have a big corporation. I just want to do well. I like to have a small fleet. But even in that, if you don't have a great culture, if you don't establish yourself as a leader and understand how and what and how you're going to do this effectively, you're going to have a high turnover. People ain't going to want to stay. They're going to tear up your equipment. They're going to, it's just because when we don't care, we don't perform when we don't care. So even in having, I've seen small companies that were well run and well managed, respected leadership. You have to put things in place. These are things that you want to do when you want to be deemed a professional. You think about building a great company culture, treating your people well. You have to put thought into that. You have to put real thought and consideration into how am I going to do that? These are the type of principles and things you have to think about. All right. Many people feel like they belong. I'm sorry, make people feel like they belong. All right. This is big in company culture. Make people feel like they belong. While diversity and inclusion efforts help, belonging takes it a step further. Feelings of safety and belonging among employees can improve communication, collaboration, and alignment, which ultimately boosts company revenue. Creating an environment of belonging isn't always easy. In addition to encouraging your employees every day to be themselves, follow their instincts, and get involved with the rest of their tribe, you can measure and gauge your effects through employee engagement surveys. Make sure to also design your workspace to be more mindful of belonging, such as having a common area where people can gather. Finally, creating frequent opportunities for employees to connect with one another will help foster a culture of belonging. I went to Chicago a few years back. I was in a meeting with a member at UPS, and the UPS brass, matter of fact, the gentleman that was responsible for buying Coyote Logistics, invited us up to Chicago to visit Coyote. And when I went there to Chicago to visit Coyote, I spent a couple of days there meeting with department heads and management to see how they created this company. And they had a really cool culture. A really cool culture. The environment was really laid back. They had a lot of young people out of college. They had a whole recruiting process. And I'm looking at just an environment of young people just handling business, taking care of business, management, really laid back, relaxed. Upstairs, they had a spot upstairs where they had bar, refrigerator, kitchen. They had a pool table, ping pong. There's all this. It was just a cool culture. The whole culture. It was almost like a, a, a Google type work environment, but it was in a corporate structure, one floor, another floor, another floor, another floor. But it was just, and everybody hung out. Everybody hung out together. All the employees hung out together, ate lunch together, hung out after work. You know what I mean?
How do you think they created that? What was the, I guess, the selling point on building
Well,
that? It started with the top.
it starts at the top. It
How do
starts
you
at the top.
implement that?
Well, you create, like, one of the things I used to do was have events with my team. Sometimes in my office, because I could just do it, I shut the office down and take everybody to lunch. We're gonna shut down for a couple of hours, put the answer service
Yeah.
on, and we're gone. I take the team out to lunch. Times that we may go out and have dinner together as a team. We went to go to Dave and Buster's. You know, that's an I treat the whole team. We're going to Dave and Buster's. We're going to do things together as a team. You create that and you do that, and people just start. You know what I mean? You have
Right.
events like we hosted networking events, meet and greets, and just things where we engage with each other and we hang out and we go do stuff. But every now and then, man, look, let me shut down and take the whole team out to lunch. And we're gonna go just do this. Do things, man. These are just deal breakers. These are game changing thoughts and ideas to build a great culture. Like I said, think about the type of place you'd want to be. We've all worked for crappy companies. We've all worked for crappy companies. Like we all have places with a, where does that start? Companies where there's cliques. You got a group of people over here that's gossiping about other folks over there. These are things that happen in workplaces because leadership allows that to happen, or leadership is on that petty stuff. These are things that happen because leadership allows it or they foster that. I'm not having that in my workplace. We're not doing that. You see that you have to stop it, nip it in the bud. You don't let it happen. No, 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 no. We don't do that. But these are things that you have to think about and pay attention to and correct constantly. If you want to have that type of culture and environment, you have to work towards that. And then you yourself got to go get training. One of the things I wrote down, spending time and money to develop yourself as a leader. One of the things that most people just they don't get it. They don't, small business owners, we think we just don't, we won't invest in ourselves. We don't understand the importance of leadership, culture, training. Corporations, they send their management people to go get more training, to go become better leaders. Let me say this. I recommend this to everyone. If you got, and don't say you can't afford it, prioritize where you spend your money. Develop and invest in you. I said this last week. How can somebody else invest in you when you won't invest in yourself? We all think we're awesome, but everybody's not a great leader. People think they are. Oh, no, I'm going to be great. You're not awesome. You might be broken and you don't see it. We talked about this from the very beginning. Everybody thinks they're awesome. Everybody thinks they're an awesome leader and everybody likes you. People will like you in your face, but they're going to talk about you behind your back. Everybody's not a great leader. Go get training. Go understand how to do this at the highest level. Invest in that. Go to leadership seminars. Read leadership books. Watch tapes. Watch videos on leadership. Go study John Maxwell. You know what I mean? Just invest in it. Because you really might not be that awesome. Probably aren't. You probably not. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's real. I didn't recognize how important that was until I met Giovanni Gonzalez. And I went and watched one of his seminars. He was speaking, and I was like, this dude is awesome. I invited him to the office. Then he started working with my team. Then I went and took my management team to a 3-day leadership seminar. And it pretty much kind of changed me. It changed me. Like it changed my thought, but it made me see things as a father. It made me see my blind spots. But one of the things it also helped me to do was to understand my humanity. And I don't beat myself up because of failures and mistakes, but get over it, learn and grow, and understand that we're human. We all make mistakes. We all got issues. Somebody's got to help you see your blind spots. So here's what I challenge every leader. Who do you love and respect enough? Who do you respect enough to tell you that you're wrong? Who's helping you see your blind spots? Who's helping you see your blind spots? Who's calling when you think you can see? One of the problems I had, I was in a position as CEO of a national organization where everybody kissed my butt. Somebody referred to me once as you're the kingmaker. So everybody wants something from you, everybody's there, and everybody agrees with you. I didn't need people to agree with me all the time. And I'm very strong-willed too. I'm very strong-willed. I got a strong personality. I'll convince you that we need to do this and see this my way. There was nobody strong enough to push back. Nobody around me strong enough to push back at what I said because I thought my way was the right way. It's not until I had a coach that started seeing things, and he did it so strategically, man. He would cut my throat and sew it up before it started bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Like he would cut me so smooth, man. He would cut me smooth. But I started seeing my blind spots that I couldn't see before. And I started recognizing that I made a lot of mistakes, and I was making a lot of mistakes. I was making a lot of mistakes, man, as a CEO, as a leader, as boy, I was making mistakes, but I couldn't see them before. I couldn't see them before. So what I say to all of you as individuals, as people that want to be leaders, who, and when you're the boss, when you're there, when you're the head of the organization, and there's no one under you can tell you what to do, but who can tell you and help you see your blind spots? Who can tell you where you are wrong and what you're doing wrong? Who around you has the ability to do that? That's dangerous. That's a dangerous place to be when no one is capable of telling you you're wrong. No one is capable of telling you you're messing up. You need to change that. That ain't right. That's dangerous. And I walked in that for a long time. So my recommendation is get a coach. Get a good coach. Get a good executive coach. You want to be the best version of you. Go fix you. Get you straight. And let somebody be able to see where you that. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Come on. Getting a good culture, all of that. That's, I'm telling y'all, it is the most important factor in your business being a success. All that other stuff, all the business stuff is great. But if you are a broken person and you got issues and you can't see it, you ain't going nowhere. You're fooling yourself. Because let me tell you what happens with an unhappy employee. They'll steal from you. They won't work hard. They're only going to be there long enough to get their check ready, but the minute something better comes along, they're gone.
Then they take that and badmouth you to other companies.
And they're going to badmouth you. Look, man, look, man,
So
look,
talk about
man.
brand reputation.
Look,
They
man,
go,
look. Whoa, look. Just people, look, people don't stay places they ain't happy. They don't stay places they're not happy. This is what happens when, listen, fix you first, invest in you. Make sure you're the best version of yourself. And remember, you can't lead people the way you lead yourself. You cannot lead people the way what works for you don't work for the next person. I learned that as a dispatcher because I was dealing with drivers with all these different types of personalities. And, you know, you got the complainer, you got the one that can't fight, you know, you got all these different personalities. You know, the driver that just complain about everything, but he's a great driver. Then you got the guy over here that gets lost, that don't know how to do nothing. He's the bumbling boo-boo, but, you know, he's really a nice guy. So I had to realize my job is to get them to get their job done. And so I had to understand how to function, how to talk to each one of these personalities in order for them to get their job done.
that's what I learned from when I was a coach, basketball coach. I had coached a couple of years and I was successful, but I got a group that wasn't really I wasn't getting the best out of them. And I had to really learn that you can't coach every kid the same way. And it's the
Cannot.
same as in business. The
Cannot.
relationships you build with your employees, you can't expect to give them the same recipe for each and every one of them, expect to get the same, you know, the best out of them. You have to really know, you know, some people may not respond to more of a rah-rah type or more of a
Right,
in your
right.
face type. They may want to laid back chill. Some people may need more I guess endearment and more hey, good job, instead of telling them what they didn't do. You know, you can it's the way you talk to them, where you can slide in. Some people are sensitive. So
Yeah.
I had to really learn the difference. Once I understood that person, then it was
Mhm.
I could tailor how, you know, my my coaching or my leadership towards that person. So
Yeah.
that is very big. And
It- it-
that's a gem I give that really has helped me.
yeah. Yeah. That's facts. That's facts. Everybody's not the same. And I read an article many years ago says great bosses get more than a day's work out of people. You know what I mean? You have to know what makes each person tick, and you got to feed them that. And that's why I say that's the thing about being a leader. You're not you're leading people. That is something different. It's getting the most out of people. That's what you got to understand this as a CEO of a corporation or building a business. Yeah, you got to know your stuff, but you got to be great at leading people. You got to be great at leading people. That's what you got to invest in. You got to have the vision, understand the vision, and you have to lead people. And we never invest in that. Listen, these are things that I tried to have free seminars, free webinars for minority truckers in this space, and no one would register and come. We don't understand the importance and value of personal development. We just don't. We don't understand the importance and the value of investing in myself and making myself better. And my point was, my initial point was, why aren't we winning? This is the number one reason why. Because what I see in trucking is poor leadership. That's what's plaguing the trucking industry. I'm going to say that again. What's plaguing the trucking industry is poor leadership. Here, at the highest level, not just the small companies, but at the big companies with thousands of units. Why are truckers coming and going and leaving? Leadership. Poor leadership. You want to stop the trucker turnover? Develop better leaders within your organization that know how to treat drivers and make drivers feel belong and value them. Value the drivers. Treat them with respect. They won't go nowhere. That's the problem. That's why drivers be bouncing. They're not valued. All right. And finally, show you value your employees. Just said that. Finally, showing that you care about your employees will make them more likely to stay at your company. A few ways to do this is to include paying employees fairly. Well, that's a new concept. Showing that you're invested in your employees' careers and encouraging healthy work habits, such as not overworking them. You know, one of the things that I was really big on, and I would say this is one of the things that I always said I'd be willing to do. If I've got an employee that I value, that I want to grow with my company, I would put them in a continued education program. I would invest in them going back and going to school to get a skill set, improve upon their skill set, so that they could contribute that to the organization. These are types of things that, you know, um, I like I said, I just take time to think about stuff like that. I put real thought into what I want to see in my organization. I envision that in my trucking company. I envision that in my work environment. It's something to behold and consider. Um, I'm going to say to everyone who's watching this, who's listening to this, um, definitely study this. Look over each of these points. Focus on it. This is the most critical factor in whether or not your trucking company is going to succeed, or any business for that matter, is what type of leader you're going to be and what type of culture you're going to create. I heard a brother, an interview, a brother that created Calendly, the calendar app for it. And he was saying that the one thing he wished he had done early was understand and develop the culture of the company. We should have did that early and understood what that would, what that's everything. That's everything. And these are the things that no one talks about, no one teaches us. Um, So bam, that's that. That's that. I hope this was good. I hope it was informative. Um, I hope we learned something from that. I hope this is something that people will value this information because again, nobody talks to us about in trucking, about building a culture and leadership. But this is why the trucking industry, the trucking industry is suffering so much because no one is talking about that, and no one is focused on culture. It's horrible in the industry. Um, any thoughts before we get out of here, Mr.
Now
Smith?
we've covered everything today, man. Like, this was a good episode. We got to dive deep into leadership culture. I think they people need to hear that because I'll say that has been a thing that I've really looked into my business, see am I doing the right things, and I'm continuously learning. Like
Mhm.
that's the thing I believe. When you know that you don't know anything and you're hungry for knowledge, you'll continue to get better, and that's what
Yeah,
I want to do with leadership and anything I can. If I can get some training somewhere, I'm going because I want to become
awesome,
better. Because when I bring it
awesome.
back to my company, we just gonna be that much greater. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. The other thing again is my webinar, relationship selling and how to bid on trucking contracts. It's going to be March 17th at 9 a.m. The link is in the description box. There's limited space in the webinar. I've just now included a high level panelist that will be joining me, who is an expert in government contracts, corporate contracts. He's a former corporate bigwig for a major corporation, and he's a government contract specialist. He's worked on both sides of contracting. He's been on the corporate end and rewarding contracts and on the other side of it. So he's also going to be joining me as a panelist, and we're going to be teaching how to sell, how to bid on contracts, how to sell and how to bid on contracts. Like I said, we're going to teach you everything. The sales pitch. We're going to teach you how to put together a sales program, how to sell, how to get in the door, how to follow up, how to fulfill bids, how to bid. And I'm going to be introducing some software and technology in this webinar that will help you to complete your bids and just do spot market rates. When whether it be with a broker or any shipper, when they say, "Hey, can you give me a price on this? Can you give me a price on these lanes?" I'm going to teach you how to do that and the software and everything to use to make that happen. You're going to learn all this in this webinar. It's about a 3 hour or so webinar, and it's valuable. Again, it's the one thing that no one is teaching us out here. So the link is in the description box. The link is in the description box. Go down, click on that, go reserve your spot for the webinar. It's just $99. I'm go ahead and put that out there. It's just $99 webinar. Go in and jump on it. And it could be hundreds. It could be 400 or 500 for this information, but it's just $99. So the spots aren't gonna last long. Go ahead and sign up and jump on that. And Malcolm is going to be Malcolm, myself, and our guest panelist is going to be there. Um, any other thoughts, Malcolm, before we get out?
that's all I have today.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been fun. Remember, we'll be dropping new episodes of the Truck Stop as of they'll be dropping on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can look for a new episode. Right now, it's the How to Start and Maintain a Successful Trucking Business series. There'll be a new episode teaching something new on every episode. And sometime in the next week or so, remember, I want to remind everybody, send us an email if you want to participate in our How to Fix My Trucking Company segment. It's a segment where we um, take a listener or viewer from around the country who's struggling with some area of their trucking business. They're struggling with an area of their trucking business and they're willing to come on air, have us assess their problems, and then help diagnose and fix whatever's ailing your trucking company. We want to help you to fix it, get you on track, and help to make you profitable, put you up on some game, tighten the ship up, and help this thing run right. So you can email us at thetruckstop19@gmail.com. Again, that's thetruckstop19@gmail.com. Email us, tell us your problem, tell us why we should help you, and we'll we'll read it, we'll identify, and we'll be responding to people and get you set up and see what we can do to help fix whatever your problems are. Excited about
That's
that.
gonna be fun. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
excited
that's
about
gonna be
that.
fun. That's
That's
gonna
gonna
be
be fun.
fun.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. And we'll be doing an interview probably next week in our Atlanta studio. We'll be having a truck stop conversation. We've got some great conversations coming up with a few great guests coming up over the next few weeks. We'll be inside of our Atlanta studio. You'll see a really laid back studio. We'll be sitting down to have interviews slash conversations on our truck stop conversation series. So we're looking forward to it. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, share these, help us grow the channel so that we can continue to come back and provide you with some great educational content.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much. Brother Malcolm, any thoughts before we go?
Hey, please, like you said, study this. Please take heed to what he's saying, what all the information, leadership and culture is very important in your business. It will make your life easier. That's all I'm gonna say.
Peace. Everybody have a blessed day. Thank you.